there are three levels of credit. One branch of credit is what we call trade credit, consumer credit, and export credit. So those are the three classes of credit. So we looked at consumer credit. Now today we want to look at trade credit. So in simple, for those who are not with us last time, when we are talking about consumer credit, we were saying that this is where a borrower, an individual or a borrower, takes a credit facility for purpose of consumption. So when you hear of a facility like an auto loan, a personal loan, a mortgage, those are a consumer. What microfinances offer, what circles offer, those are consumer. What we see in maybe these mobile or digital lenders, those are the ones we are calling. They are for consuming purposes. They are given for consumption purposes. So that is consumer credit. Then now we are now talking about the other branch of credit, which is trade credit. So we are done with consumer. Remember, now we want to talk about trade credit. And I don't know if there is any one of us who is in trade credit. Is anyone in trade credit? Maybe I need to know if there is anyone in trade. When we talk about trade, this is it is the credit which is normally extended to businesses for purposes of business. So you are selling your what? You are selling merchandise. As a manufacturer, you are selling it to a retailer, to a wholesaler, to a manufacturer, so for onward trading, for trading purposes. Or even if it is a facility, the facility is being extended for purposes of yani kuendelesha biashara. Sasa tunaangazia yani trade credit, not for consumption, but for purposes of enhancing business. So maybe at that point, I would love to hear, are we all in banking sector, or some of us are in trade credit? Anyone in trade credit? Sam, where do you work?
I'm not working. I just finished my studies.
Oh, you finished your degree?
Yeah.
Good. Tutapata kazi. Waajiri wako hapa. Eric, you are in the banking sector. Percy, not working. Rose, where are you working?
I work at ABC Bank.
Oh, you're working the banking sector.
Yeah.
So I think maybe me as the teacher, I'm best placed because I have worked in trade credit. Kwa hivyo, maybe let me then feel free to take the class over to trade credit. So when you're talking about trade credit, we are talking about a contractual. Remember we said a credit transaction, we said it is a legal transaction. It is binding to both parties. So we normally look at it as an agreement or a contract between one party or two parties, one who is selling the goods and one who is buying the goods. So that's what we are saying when we are talking about trade credit. I want to bring it home closer. Like, think of Unilever. When you look at Unilever is a manufacturer. So when Unilever manufactures, Unilever now sells the product to wholesalers, to distributors. It is sells to retailers, some directly, right? So to us now, the credit that Unilever extends to the customers who are wholesalers, distributors, that is trade credit, right? So this is where we can therefore say, we said a credit transaction is a transaction between two parties, one who is the seller, the other one who is the buyer. And when they are doing that, we also mention that the payment for the goods is not received immediately. It is received at a later date. So that is why we are calling it a a credit facility. So we are saying that trade credit is a contractual agreement in which one business receives goods or services from another business without having to pay immediately for those goods and services. So in this transaction, we see that it is a transaction involving short-term short-term credit, or what we call short-term credit terms, meaning it is either 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So they are short as compared to the consumer product which we were talking about. So credit transaction under trade credit are of short terms. They could be 30, they could be 60, they could be 90 days. And then, of course, we see that now being a credit transaction, there is the aspect of a delayed payment. So payment will come at a future date. So trade credit suppliers fund their clients with short-term debts. So they don't have to be banks. Remember this. When you're talking about consumer credit providers, we are looking at them as mostly microfinances, circles, banks, finance houses. But now when we come to trade credit, we are looking at people who are extending a credit facility which is short-term. Sometimes we call it credit. It is a credit in kind. It is short-term, and a payment is expected maybe as per the agreed days, that date that has been given. So trade credit is financing. We say it is financing in kind. Other credit providers are different, and it is different from other credit providers like the banks, because then they give you cash, or they will buy a motor vehicle for you and all that. But trade credit, they'll give you the service or the goods for you to enable you to carry out business and pay at a future date. So trade credit is not subject to specific formal contracts between the lender and the borrower. So this, we are saying, it is because it is non-financial. It has no, those legal requirements. Sijui ijaza form, sijui enda upigwe picha, sijui enda ulete nani. For us who are in the banking sector, right, like Rose and Eric, you can tell us that it's not an easy task to get a facility. So, but for trade credit, because of its nature, it is short term. It does not have formal, complications like we see in financial institution. So we see that it is a product, or it is a line that is very essential in our market, because SMEs, for example, they depend on trade credit as a source of financing. So all these businesses out here, maybe whether they're selling phones, they are selling maybe food. Look at the retail market, the supermarkets and all the kind. They take goods from the manufacturers, they sell, and then they pay later. So it is an easier way. Trade credit is an easier way of running a business. Yani si ngumu kupata a credit facility from a manufacturer, as it is hard from getting it from a bank. So if you don't have an account with a bank, you have not had that account maybe for 6 months or so, you do not have frequent cash deposits, or your account is not good, you may not be able to get a loan from a bank, right? But when you look at trade credit, it is very easy for us to do what? It is very easy for a business to obtain a credit facility from a trader as compared to the banks. So we see that it is also considered as cheap. Remember, when we were talking about consumer credit, there are so many components and aspects. There are interest charged, there are penalties charged. But when it comes to trade credit, hapa ukichukua unga ilikuwa ni 1,000, itakuwa tu ni 1,000 ukilipa. Sio kama mkopo. Actually, the cost of credit is supposed to be incorporated into the buying price or the selling price. But most of the time, because people do not understand the cost of credit, then you find that they are in business, but they are not making money, because for trade credit, you cannot charge any form of interest. So it has no interest component attached to it. So trade credit providers, we can say the players. Who are the players in this market of trade credit? We see them as manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers. So many, and don't just look at as those who are selling goods. Look also at those who are also offering services. A good example, for example, let me take this. We call it Little Cab. So Little Cab, they have a facility they normally give to corporates. So they allow the corporate clients to access credit through the service, the access service, then end of the month or end of a given period, they will bill the client or they bill that corporate customer. So this is a form of also a trade credit service being provided. So you are not paying for it in advance, you are paying it at a future date. So that makes it also a service and a trade credit. So let us not confine our thinking to looking at trade credit as only goods related. It could also be service related. Look at, for example, people who offer cleaning services. They will clean a whole month, then they are paid by maybe by the SMEs or by the corporates at the end of the month. So we can also group that as under trade credit. I hope that that with that much that I have spoken, we can be able now to define what trade credit is all about. And now, even to go back where we started on consumer credit, someone would even ask you a question. What is the difference between consumer and trade credit? Differentiate between consumer and trade credit. You should be in a position to differentiate. When you are talking about consumer, this is credit extended to for consumption purpose. So you are given a facility, you are given whatever goods, but you are the consumer. Lakini, when we talk about trade credit, this is credit that is extended for as an enabler of business. So it is for the purpose of trading. It's for the purpose of offering a service to your customer. So you take items, you take services and pay at a future date. So I hope that is very clear. Eric, I don't know whether that explanation is good.
Yes, teacher, it is.
Yes.
It's very clear. However, I had an ask.
Yes.
For trade credit.
For?
Can a business?
Yes.
For instance, in the example that you gave us for Unilever.
Yes.
Suppose now it is a retailer.
Yes.
That is giving credit to a final consumer.
Yes.
And they are giving this facility for consumption, basically.
Yes.
Not facility per se, but they are giving a good.
Yes.
For consumption.
Yes.
Will that still qualify to be trade credit?
I will. Okay. Let me use a good example of Naivas supermarket. So when Naivas is buying from Unilever, we can look at it as trade credit. When me and you go to buy from a retailer for purpose of consumption, but we are not paying it now, then that one we can group it under consumer. Right? We are not getting the service or the good for passing it onward to another customer. We are doing it for purpose of unai-consume we mwenyewe. So sometimes under consumer, we may consider people who are purchasing goods or items or taking a loan, a facility in form of goods for purpose of consumption. I hope that is okay, Eric.
It is.
Yeah. So we can assume that we can see that Unilever selling to Naivas is doing trade credit. Naivas selling to its consumers, or even like, let me even give a good example. Just in relation to that. Now, assuming now Naivas has its corporate clients who purchases goods and pays after 30 days. And they are purchasing, hiyo ni ya kuendelesha biashara yao. Sawa, what I consume lakini it is in the interest of the business running the day-to-day activities. Maziwa ya wafanyikazi, tissue ya wafanyikazi, hizo consumables kwa kampuni. So hiyo credit tutaiangalia tutaiona it is for purpose of trade. Wa trade kwanza ndio waweze kulipa. I hope that is clear. Aya, nimejibu vizuri Eric?
That is very clear, mwalimu.
Asante sana. So, let us think of now that trade credit. Does it have any benefits? are there benefits to the buyers, to the sellers? Of course, you can imagine when I am buying 10 kilos, 200 kilos of rice or sugar, and I will sell these items to so many customers for a long period of time. So it may not be viable for me to buy all of it cash. So I will take a trade credit, get a trade credit so that I can be able to sell or turn over my stock so that I'm able to raise money to pay. So we can see there are a number of benefits of what we are calling the trade credit, and one of them is that we see that small companies or SMEs or small businesses are able to maintain stable inventory through trade credit. So kaduka yako ndogo ama whatever itakuanga inaonekana iko well stocked. Kwa nini? Because you are able to stock using the trade credit. So you can never run out of stock because you are able to obtain a credit facility from a distributor, from a manufacturer, or maybe even from a wholesaler or a manufacturer. So that is number one. Number two, buyers are able to understand their customers' buying habits. So they, is it buyers? Buyers are able to understand their customers' buying habits. So utapata kama ni duka, kama ni Naivas, towards end of the month, they are able to stock in readiness for end month so that customers can start purchasing. So the other one, we say lending companies are able to increase profits due to increased sales, because now you are able to turn around, sell more. Like supermarkets, they're able to sell more and more, but they did not purchase. Maybe they have not even paid a coin for the stock that they are selling. So that's also another way. There is what we call customer loyalty. When you give credit facility, people tend to remain loyal to your business. So when they become loyal to your business, you are able to sell more and more, right? The other one is lenders are able to compete with competition. The lenders are able to compete with competition. Unilever atastokiwa vitu zake, Bidco ambaye pia ni competitor wake. So the lenders, who are those or manufacturers, they are able to compete with competition, making sure their products are available in the market even before the buyers are able to pay for them. So startups are also able to obtain credit, trade credit, where financial institution may not offer credit facility. So you will discover that it is easier for a buyer, for a shopkeeper, to obtain trade credit than it is easy to obtain a credit facility, which is maybe from the bank. So inasaidia sana. So trade credit does not require collateral, which many startups may not afford. So we can see, if you think of it, these benefits, look at them from the point where we are talking about the benefits of credit. From our lesson number 1, we looked at the benefits, creating jobs. So think of it, this is an area maybe that an examiner may want just to test your understanding on how you understand the benefits of trade credit. So reduces costs related to cash management, since no requirement for borrowing. So utapata mtu ako na biashara yake inaendelea vizuri, na ukimuuliza nakwambia mimi sina loan na bank. How comes hana loan na bank? Na na hiyo stock yake ni kubwa. Hiyo stock most of the time belongs to the manufacturers, to the distributors, wale wanamuzia hiyo mali. So because we said trade credit involves short term, we say 30, 60, 90 days. It's good to ask ourselves, what are the credit terms that are normally offered? We look at length. These are 60 days. How do we refer to them? How do we classify those terms that are normally offered by the credit providers, right? So types of credit terms, we normally say, we ask ourselves, what is this that will be considered when we are designing the credit terms to give to customers? So I want you to come with me and now start behaving like a credit provider in the trade sector or in the trade industry. So for us who are in banking, in circles, for us who are looking for jobs, I want you to just think like I'm now a manufacturer of items selling now to people out there. What are the things that are going, that you will consider before you even design the credit terms to extend to customers? So we see a number of things. Extending goods and services on credit, we normally say must be done on certain conditions. So whether it's a because we said this is it's being offered by non-financial sector, it is good to have some conditions. Usinipatie tu, don't just give me a facility ama unipatie goods or services without telling me under what condition. So we normally see that there are payment terms that we need to agree. Okay, you'll pay me after 30 days. And when 30 days are over, what do I expect? I expect a payment. When the payment does not come, what action are we going to take? So credit without defined terms, we normally say that it's like a ship sailing in the deep sea without a compass. So it is good to have agreed terms of credit with your customers before you even extend them to them goods and services. So payment terms clearly stated, clearly known to a customer. Clearly, you are telling this person, we are giving you a credit facility of 90 days. And how will you pay? This is how you're going to make the payment. So payment terms may vary from one type of customer. There are those maybe that are selling to big distributors or to big retailers like the supermarkets. Some you are selling to a shopkeeper pale kwa mashinani. Some those you give them different terms. Like for retailers or the supermarkets, their terms are very I don't know how to say, but those terms are very unfavorable for the sellers. So they want like 120 days, 90 days. And I think in the past, you will agree with me, we have seen a lot of damage happening to manufacturers, where these wholesalers or these customers have gone under. So, but we are saying the most important thing to do is to define the credit terms that you're going to charge to these customers. So maybe I want to ask you a question. What do you think are the things that you need to consider before you design these terms? What are the things you need to before you give me 30 days? What are the things a seller must consider? Maybe that is something I need to hear from us. What are the things that you need to consider before you design credit terms for your customers? I requested that you now start thinking like a credit giver. Behave like you are the one now giving the trade credit. So what do you think are the things that you will consider before you design the terms of trade or the terms of credit? I start with who? I start with Sam.
I think maybe the amount of credit being offered.
The amount of credit that is being offered. Utaangalia the limit, utajua ni kiwango gani. Asanti. Thank you so much. Percy? Percy? Percy haski. I hope hajaniacha.
Yes, mwalimu.
Nauliza swali.
Niko.
Ebu nijibu. Tumeuliza swali.
Sorry. Please come again.
What are the factors that you would consider, you as a credit provider in trade sector? What are the factors that you are going to consider before designing the terms that you are going to give your customers?
The terms that I'm going to consider.
Yes.
Well, the ability yake ya kulipa.
Ability yake ya kulipa, yes.
Lazima you confirm whether he or she is able to pay.
Yes.
So you have to create a policy where you can be able to measure the ability ya huyo mtu kulipa.
All right.
Yeah.
Then let me hear from Rose. Asante, Percy. You've raised your hand, Percy. Your hand was up.
Pardon me?
Your hand
no,
was
sorry.
up. Okay, sawa.
Nimeguza niki.
Okay. No problem. Rose.
I think I'll also consider how long they're taking to sell and if they're also extending further credit.
How long they are going to take to sell. You will also consider if they are selling under what terms. Yeah, so that
Exactly.
Good. And this is where I think most manufacturers have gone wrong and they have given all their eggs. They have put all their eggs with the retailers, the Uchumi type. We had Uchumi, we had Tuskies type. You give them so much time, yet these guys are selling a product on cash basis. So if they're selling on cash, why do they want to, to take too long, 120 days, 190 days to pay you? So it is very important for you to know what also terms are they extending to their customers, so that you can also plan accordingly. Karibu sana Judy.
Thank you.
Yes, your first class?
Second.
Oh, your second class. Aya, karibu basi. So we are talking about trade credit. So what factors did I have in place? Factors that influence or factors to consider. It is terms. You also look at what is the industry offering. So if you are looking, then you make use of Bidco and our Unilever. They sell similar items. So you as a Bidco, for them to define or to decide the terms they are giving to their retailers, they may also ask themselves a question: what is the competitor offering? So if competitor is offering 20-30 days, then you ought also to consider and also give around that range. Otherwise you might give 60 days wewe uumie. So unaangalia kwamba what is the competition offering. Number 2, the financial capacity of the seller. For me who is selling, remember we said we look at ourselves as the sellers, are the people who are in trade, the trade players who are offering this trade facility. You'll also ask yourself, do I have the financial capacity? Do I have the financial muscle? Ama nikiwapatia vitu zangu zote mimi nitakaa bila biashara. Do I have the ability to give them the long-term days that they want? Then the other factor you also look at is the market condition and the norms. What is the market like? Let me give a good example of our Kenyan market. You will all agree with me that everybody wants to get a credit facility. Even when surely they can even pay cash. We all want, can I be paying mdogo? Can I be paying kidogo? People want credit facility. So what conditions are prevailing? It's good to ask yourself. Like for example, let me look at the retail markets for those supermarkets that have gone under. So if you look at maybe why they went under, you ask yourself, what terms were they being given? What went wrong? So you also need to ask yourself, is the market favorable? Soko inakaje? Watu wako na cash flow ama hawana? Then wamezoea credit facility. Kama wamezoea credit facility, my friend, jaribu kupenetrate your market. You will not manage to sell even a single item. So market condition and norms you must consider as you are coming up with the terms. Then you also ask yourself, what are my cash flow needs? When am I supposed to pay my suppliers? How much do I expect, am I expected to pay out? Do I have a loan? Do I have a credit facility also with the bank? So those are some of the things that you need to surely consider. The other one are the terms enforceable. Can I enforce those terms? Unajua unaweza ambia mtu utalipa after 30 days. Can I enforce after 30 days? What can I do to enforce these terms? Then you ask, before I give credit, what are my profit margin? Remember, in our first topic, we talked about the cost of credit, and maybe I would request Eric to recap for us, for the sake of those who have joined us today, for the sake of Rose and Sam. Can you recap for us what were some of the cost of credit? Because we said credit is not what? It is not free. There is a cost implication. Maybe you can remind us, Eric, what were the cost of credit we talked about?
Thank you. The cost of credit, we looked at a number of them, and we were saying cost of credit refers to that which it takes you to be able to either administer credit or to offer credit.
Yes.
So one was the opportunity cost. where you told us that if that money could have been used in another area,
Yes.
if it could have been invested elsewhere,
Yes.
what would it look like?
Yes.
Then we had administrative costs.
Yes.
And then we had bad debts, the cost of the bad debts.
Yes.
These are the people who do not pay.
Mm-hmm.
What does it cost you for those for that credit that is not paid?
Yes.
Then we had the cost of collecting the money.
Mm-hmm.
And then also we had the cost of financing.
Good. Thank you so
I
much.
think those are the ones I can remember.
Uko sawa basi. Kwa hivyo unaangalia why have I taken you there? It is because so that we want to ask ourselves, but if I'm giving this credit facility, what are my profit margin? Why am I thinking about profit margin? Because so many costs are competing with my profit. So is it worthwhile for me to extend credit for a long period of time when I'm incurring all these costs? Kuna hiyo cost of bad debts, kuna hiyo cost opportunity cost, kuna financing cost unaibuka. So if your margins are small, I'm imagining you would want to give them shorter credit period terms. But if your profit margin ya 50%, utasema hata wakikaa na pesa yangu for 6 months, bado I'm in business. So that is what we are talking about, considering your profit margin. So you will come to realize people with high profit margins, they are very generous. Wako tu, you come take credit facility kwa unanilipa mdogo mdogo. And I like equating this to my sisters who are in the group, like I have Rose and Judy. When these ladies who come selling handbags to us in the office, they usually tell you that unaweza nilipa na 3 installments. But what they never let you know is your product wanakuuzia, how much it costs in the uko kwa street ni pesa ngapi. So anawekanga margin kubwa, anajua ukimlipa hiyo 3 months hiyo handbag atakuwa make even 50% or even some they make 100% profit. So hata jari hata ukikaa na pesa yake for 3 months utakuwa unamlipa every month until umalize. So your profit margin also will influence you in making the decision on the terms to allocate to a customer. The other one is demand for the product or service. Kama product yako ni hot cake, kila mtu anaikimbilia, why give long credit terms? So that will also make it that will also determine the terms you are going to offer. So demand for your product or service. Utapata some guys when their service or their product are on demand, then they give short term. But if your product is slow moving, inachukua muda, yani haisongi kwa soko, it is not a fast moving product, you will realize that you tend to give a lower more credit days. But when the product moves very fast, it is on high demand, you will tend to give shorter credit terms to take advantage of the demand in the market. Then there is the other one we talk about, perceived customer risk. I think this was mentioned by one of us, the perceived customer. Kana customer unamuona ni risky, utamwekea days kidogo ndio auze akulipe kwa haraka, usiende hasara. Then the other one is what type of a customer. This was also mentioned, the type of a customer, and of course we've talked about the cost of credit, the administration cost that we incur, the cost of bad debts and all that, right? So when we are when an examiner therefore asks you this question, they could coin a question and ask you, describe factors to consider when designing payment terms, or discuss or describe factors that influence payment terms or that influence credit terms. So they could coin the question in that. And always remember, when I'm doing this question unaandika mahali, so for purpose ya kukusaidia kufanya revision. So that factors that influence payment terms, right? The other one that we can talk about, and maybe nilianza tu chua kienyeji, nikifikiria sisi wote tulikuwa when we were looking at the syllabus. Under trade credit there are a number of things we need to know. Who are the trade players in trade credit? The types of credit products, payment terms and methods used in credit, and trade documentation that are normally used. So please have that in mind. Who are the players? I think you can answer that question already. Who are the players in trade credit? 2 types of credit products or accounts which you are going to look at, and then payment terms and method that are used in trade credit, and then we will finally talk about credit documentation. So I'm sorry I didn't start at that point. So when we are looking at terms, when you are talking about terms, remember when you're the word term it means it's a period. The term, the tenor, like we talked about the loan tenor. Loan tenor is the term of the term of the loan term. Now here we are talking about the terms, trade credit terms. So when you're talking about trade credit terms, we normally see these are the common what number of days that are normally given by suppliers. That is, they have a special way of saying maybe you're on net 30, on net 60, net 90, and all that. So terms, we say that terms used in credit may be net terms or 2-part terms. So what does that mean? Net terms, the supplier requires full payment within a given period of time after goods and services have been extended, right? So it is the net, it's 30 days. Net 30 agreement. So tunasema payment is due within 30 days of the product delivery. So after nime deliver, I'm expecting a payment after that. Then we normally have a 2-part terms. What is 2-part terms? I think you can see where I am. What is a 2-part terms? A 2-part terms, therefore, we are seeing terms, 2-part terms contract provides the buyer with a discount which is earned only if payment is made within a certain period which is shorter than the net payment period. So utapata terms zingine zimedefiniwa ni kama net 30, net 60, net 90. Hiyo yote ni kusema that payment is expected after 90 days, right? Utapata payment ingine inasema like 2/10, like where I'm highlighting, inasema 2/10 net 30. Good. 2/10 net 30. Ile ingine tumesema net 30, ilikuwa net 30. Tumesema hiyo net, it means that payment is expected after 30 days. Sawa? 2-part terms, the contract has 2 ways that you can pay the supplier. How can I pay, or how can we be paid? We can have it as 2/10 net 30, meaning that if you pay 10 days after 10 days 10 days after delivery, we will give you a 2% discount. Nataka hii mshike vizuri na muinue mkono mniulize hadi tuelewe. It means you will be given a 2% discount if payment is made by the 10th day following delivery, or else it will be paid in full after 30 days. So unaweza ulizwa na examiner, what is the meaning of a 2/10 net 60, net 30, net 90? It means it is a 2 parts payment. Inakuambia unaweza nilipa kabla ya tarehe 10 ama within 10 days after nimekuletea mali, or ungoje hadi 30 days unilipe lakini sitakupea any discount. Hii ni ya encourage customers kukulipa mapema. They take advantage of a discount. Why? Because the earlier they pay you, the lesser the costs are in card, the cost of credit in card. So the lesser the cost of credit in card. So akikulipa mapema within the first 10 days, you are ready to give them a 2% discount. Akikosa kukulipa after the 10th day, then atahave kulipa yote baada ya 30 days. So there will be meaning there is a discount into it. and then now they will either pay full if they will not pay within the days. So if the buyer fails to take advantage of the discount window, they are required to pay the full price for the goods as per the net period, that is 30 days. Hope tumeelewa hiyo. Judy, wacha nisikie. Yes, please. Yes, Judy.
Does the 2% discount apply if I pay like half of what is owed? Or do I need to pay the whole amount for me to get the 2%?
It's the whole amount. Okay, though, let me say, as we said, this vary from supplier to supplier. Unaweza pata supplier, unajua anaweza hata weka 2% of any amount paid before the 10th. And then the other payment net 30. So it is possible that can also apply, Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Aya. Pasi, umeelewa hiyo?
Niko ndani.
Umeielewa? Eric, tumeelewa?
Nimeelewa.
Good. Sasa niulize mgeni wangu kabisa, Rose. Rose, umeelewa?
Nimeelewa kabisa.
Bas. Sasa ile siku utaingia exam room, umeona umewekewa 3/20/60 or net 60 or net 90, usiseme hii mwalimu wa kufundisha. We can coin it around. Tunaweza hata weka 3/20/90 net 90. So unaweza sema 3% 20 days or net 90, net 60. So yote inafanana. So haitakuja eti imeandikwa vile teacher ameandika hapa. So inaweza kuja just, it means there is a discount that is being offered for you to for you after you have made a payment on time, right? So we normally see credit terms are normally divided into 3 categories. So the terms of payment or payment terms under trade credit are normally divided into 3 categories. So trade credit, payment terms. Remember, we can talk about payment terms or credit terms. So payment terms are normally grouped into like 3 categories. One, it is those payments that are related to delivery. Payments related to delivery. So utapata huyo trader kuna vile ameandika, anasemanga cash with order ni those are payments related to delivery. Hiyo classification nyingine ni payments related to time. Alafu kuna others credit terms. So tutaanza na hii payments related to delivery. One is cash with order, cash in advance, cash before shipment, cash on delivery, net payment due on delivery, cash next delivery, meaning leo umebeba, next time tukikuletea ulipe hiyo ya kwanza, alafu ubebe ingine. Kuna hiyo ingine pro forma, tutapata hizo zote. Those are terms you are likely to find that are common in trade credit. So utapata payments related to delivery. Hiyo ya pili, this one I don't need to explain. Before shipment, with shipment, on those ones you can understand. So payments related to time. Hapa ndio kuna kuanga na mambo mingi. Payments related, after all it is credit facility. It's not about cash. So when you are dealing with now credit, we are talking about payments related to time. That is the period being offered. So utapata net 7. When I talk about net 7, it can be net 7, net 10, net 30, net 60, net. It means payment is due 7 days after delivery. So after nime deliver goods, I'll be paid after 7 days. So if I do 10 days, it is payment after 10 days after the date of delivery, right? So hiyo isiwa confuse. Then kuna hiyo ingine tunaita weekly credit. Utapata watu wanaita weekly credit. What is weekly credit? So payments for all suppliers Monday to Sunday to be paid by a specified day in the next week. So tuseme weekly credit, unaambiwa tutakusupply hii wiki yote hadi Sunday. lakini hizi tumekusupplyia hii wiki, lazima uzilipe a specific date, kama Wednesday, Thursday next week uzilipie zote. So tunaita weekly credit. So you take a whole week, then we bill you, you pay us after that. So kuna hiyo ingine we call it half month credit. Half month credit payment, meaning payment for all half month credit, payment of all supplies made from the 1st to 15th of the month are to be paid on a specified date in the second half of the month, while payment for the 16th to 30th supply is paid by a specified date in the first half of the next month. So tuseme all supplies from date 1 up to leo date 15th zitalipwa a specified date within the next half of the month. Alafu hizo zenye tutasupply kuanzia kesho 16th kwenda to 30th zitalipwa maybe the first week ya hiyo mwezi ingine yenye inafuata. So hiyo inaitwa half month. It is, mtaielewa tu, si kitu ngumu. Then the other one is payment by 10th and 25th. Hii ni kama tu ile ya huko juu, same as half month but specifying the dates of the payment. So ni the 10th and the 25th tuna expect a payment from you. Then kuna net 7 prox. Net 7 prox. This one same meaning as monthly, but payment is to be made by the 7th of the following month. Net 7 prox. Prox, hiyo jina prox inasimamia mwezi. Prox tarehe 7, meaning payment is to be made by the 7th of the following month. So net 7 prox. Prox inamaanisha ni kama mwezi, proximate, mwezi imeisha, una supply, lakini by tarehe 7 ya the following month tunataka ufanye payment. Kuna ingine tunaita 2 monthly credit. Hii nayo same as monthly account but has an extra calendar month. So 2 months credit ni kusema hii mwezi yote yetu ya June tumsupplyie, hiyo mwezi ingine yote ya July tumsupplyie, sawa? So 2 monthly credit. So atalipa, so hizo ni 30 na 30 ni 60 days. So unampatia ndio aweze kukulipa the following month. The third month alipe hizi 1 2, the other third month ndio hiyo ya third afanye third na fourth tena alipe hiyo mwezi mwingine. I know it is complicated for those who are in the banking sector, but anyway all of us are new to it, but that is how unique the trade credit is. And I think this prepares you, maybe when you want to switch, you want to move from the banking sector to trade credit, it's good, this is good knowledge to understand. And for those who are still learning or they're looking for jobs, when now you learn about consumer credit, you learn about trade credit, that it places you to a level whereby you can either go to trade credit and become a credit manager on that side, or you can now join become a credit officer or a credit manager also in the banking sector. That is the beauty about this unit. So the other one is 30, 60, 90 days. This means payment due by the 30th day calculated from the date of the invoices. So invoice zote ambazo zitakuwa 30 days zinalipwa. Zile zote zimefika 60 days zinalipwa. 30 days from invoice date tunasema this one gives a precise due date that after 30 days invoice lazima ilipwe. So those are payment terms related to time. Remember tulikuwa na payment related to delivery, that is what we started with, payments related to delivery. Now we have what we are calling payments related to time. That is what we were looking at. And maybe before I lose any one of us, I don't know whether there is any question, is any hand lifted up, ama sisi wote tumeshika. Eric, umeshika?
Nikisoma tena nitashika.
Bas, hiyo ndio uzuri ya mwalimu, nasema tu na explain kidogo, ukirudi kusoma utaielewa. Lakini anyone with a challenge, msiogope, mnaniuliza tu, even when there is no class. You can always ask me on WhatsApp. We go to the other, there is what we call any hand, raise hands. Yes, Rose?
I just wanted clarity on the 2 monthly credits.
Yes.
Because you said they like your supplier supplies you for 2 months, then you pay on the 3rd month.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
you're not supposed to pay within 2 months. You
You-
pay on the 3rd month. So they'll be
Sasa-
supplying every day for 2 or like until 2 months. Maybe it's a bulk order then until the last day of the 2nd month.
No, what it means, for example, 2 months credit. Si tumemuzia hii mwezi yote, hata lipa hii mwezi, supplies zote za hii mwezi hata lipa next month. June
Okay.
Umempatia 2 months credit. Atalipa, tuseme kama saizi tuko June, si tumemsupply June.
Yes.
Hata lipa July,
Mhm.
atakuja kukulipa August. So nazo hizo za June, za July zitakuja kulipwa September.
Utalipa September ama October? Okay,
Sasa-
assuming it's the first day.
Oh. Sasa watakuja wanaziconsolidate pamoja. Inakuanga very tricky because unajua ukiambiwa sasa tuseme uko na so many invoices alafu unaambiwa ulipe you just pay ati utalipa every invoice after that day. So utashindanga ukiandika check every day, ndio? Every day kuna invoice ina fall
Yeah.
due. Lakini what they do ini kukwambia hizi invoice delivery zote zenye tumekupia the month of June hautalipa July, utakuja kutulipa August. So meaning hapo kuna like 60 days. Invoice ile ya kwanza itakuwa na 60 days. Invoice yenye ni ya 15th haitakuwa kabisa imefika 60 days. Unaona? So to make some companies they want to make it easy. Ndio analipa hizo, anajua mimi nishamalizana na June.
Okay.
Yeah, sawa. That means the 2 months. Yeah, sawa. I hope everyone else is okay now. We can move. So, we have the other terms, which we are calling the other terms, which you will come across. You should be in a position to explain what other terms are all about. This one, utazipata zinaitwa journey terms. Journey terms, safari. Just as the word means, journey terms. Payment for this transaction is to be made to the representative or a van salesman. I think umeona, unaweza kuwa ulibiliwa last week, lakini mzigo yako imekuwa njiani kabla ijaletwa, alafu imeletwa leo. Ile siku italetwa, invoice itakuwa inasoma mzigo ilichukuliwa last week tarehe 2. So hapo ndio utalipia. So look ni kama kweli umekuwa ukienjoy credit terms, only that the goods were on transit. So journey terms, they just tell you pay the van. The salesperson, as they will bring the goods, whichever date the goods were built, utamlipa huyo salesman. Utapata hiyo zinaitwa journey. It's when they are on safari, they are on credit on safari. When they reach to you, you make a payment. Okay, it may look like it is cash on delivery, lakini remember you were billed. So see the billing was done. An invoice was raised in your statement in your account on that day when the goods were discharged. Lakini ile siku zitakufikia, hiyo siku ndio unafaa kulipa. So tunaziita journey terms. Then kuna zingine tunaitanga contra terms. Contra means that I am buying from you, you are buying from me. So it means there is what we call maybe like I'm selling packaging materials, and maybe I'm buying raw materials from you for those packaging. So kuna kuwa na hiyo transaction ambayo ni kama contra. Niko na account na wewe, uko na account na mimi. So wakati mwingine inafanyika what we call offsetting. Though this one is very much discouraged, in accounting is not encouraged. So it involves offsetting the value of supplies against purchases from the same firm. So siko na deni yangu, ni kama ile story tunakuanga nayo. Tumeenda soko na wewe, tumeenda shopping spree, ladies we are here, tumeenda shopping spree. Kuna pahali ulinilipia na mimi nikakulipia. So tukikaa chini tunafanya reconciliation, unaniambia nilikubaia vitu za hii na wewe ukanibaia za hii. So nani yako na deni ya mwingine? Huyo mwingine naye anapatwa, analipa. Mwenye yako na deni ya mwingine analipa. Lakini tunafanya offsetting. So hiyo ndio tunaitanga contra terms. na inaweza kuwa kuna credit facility days ziko pale venye tumeziongea, lakini mtakuja kufanya contra terms by offsetting those payments. Then kuna ingine tunaitanga stage payments. This one stage payments tunaziona like let me give this are normally they are common in contracts. Kama wale siku moja tutajenga nyumba, wengine wamejenga, so kuna kuwa na contractor, mnakubaliana na huyu contractor, my friend, nitafanya nini, nitafanya nikijenga utanipea deposit, ukinipea deposit nijenge hadi nifanye foundation. Ama itakuwa 30%, unipe 30% nikianza project, ajenge, akimaliza up to foundation anataka kupandisha, unamlipa hiyo 30%, akienda kumalizia unamlipa hiyo ingine 30%. So it is agreed on stages, ama as you deliver. Unajua kuna watu wanasemanga nikideliver part hizi unalipia hii, nikileta hizi zingine unalipia hizi, so inakuwa in stages. So specified payments, normally installments, to be made at defined stages of a contract. So that is common with contractors. So I think hii ingine 2% stroke net or net 30, hiyo wachana, ni ile nilikuwa nimesema pale, just to remind you what that meant. And then the other one is what we call load overload. Load, mzigo na mzigo ingine, mzigo juu ya mzigo ingine, load overload. So these terms are common in these ones are common in the oil industry. Load overload. Wale wa petrol station huwa wanaambiwa tukileta lori ya mafuta leo, tukileta lori ya mafuta leo, payment itafanywa nini, tukileta ya pili ndio utalipia hiyo ya kwanza, because it's commonly used in fast moving goods, because wanajua mafuta itaisha kwa petrol station, so kesho tutakuletea ingine. So every time unakuwa unawao one load. So load ya jana inalipwa leo, hiyo load ingine ya leo italipwa kesho. Tunaita load overload. So as the name suggests, it is expected that before a new delivery or invoice is raised, the earlier invoice must be fully paid. Paying an early invoice before a new delivery is given is what is known as the load overload. Siyo iko chonjo watu wangu. Naeza kona ika emoji, mumeelewa, mumeshika, mimi niendelee tu. Very good, thank you Judy. Good.
Zipporah, maybe one question.
Kindly.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going off, but I'm just trying to think in trade credit.
Yes.
The contract terms is allowed, but
yes.
Maybe when you come to the financial industry, then we call it transfer pricing, especially if it's within the same group of companies. Then where do you draw the line? What's legal, what's not legal?
In terms, come again?
You see, like if the companies are related, then they tell you they're doing contract terms.
Yes.
So this company owes me, but you find they're within the same, it's the same company,
yes.
in the same group.
Yes.
So it kind of comes across as transfer pricing, which is really not allowed.
Okay.
So it looks like contract terms is legal in the trade credit, but again, when you come to the financial sector, it's again not like legal.
Yes, that is true. Actually, now that is in the trade credit iko allowed, lakini hiyo kwa banking sector haiko, because you will find it is what we call intercompany. Hiyo inakuanga intercompany. Yes, those are intercompany transactions. So the bank would not want such kind of an arrangement. Why? Because I'm sure even the accounts have different names, so they wouldn't want to draw for this one. It will now, because we see like on financial institution, there's a lot of contracts, legality, yani kuna hiyo, because the nini must, you know, the contract is very specific. Lakini hii ingine tuliona they are not so formal, inakuanga na kienyeji mingi huko ndani yake. So that one we treat it. Contra is accepted in trade and not accepted in the consumer or in the banking sector. Sawa?
Okay, sawa.
Aya, let me give a good example for intercompany. I used to work for Unga Holdings. Unga Holdings, we had Unga Limited and Unga Farm Care. So Unga Limited, used to sell raw materials. Inauzia Unga Farm Care inawauzia hizo byproducts ni kama nini, maize jam, wheat bran, wakitoa wakisiaga jogoo, hizo vitu zinabaki zilikuwa zinauziwangwa Unga Farm Care, right? So nayo Unga Farm Care ilikuwa so Unga Farm Care ananunua kutoka Unga Limited. Naye Unga Farm Care akienda sometimes kusource raw materials, atapata manze tumepata mahindi poa. Badala hii mahindi tuisiage ikue chakula ya ng'ombe, si muichukue, tumeshanunua mchukue, then mtatupea byproducts. So there are those transactions ziko zinafanyika. Utapata Unga Farm Care iko na deni ya Unga Limited kiwango hii, ukiangalia kwa Unga Limited iko na deni kiwango hii. So unapata hizo, those they can be done contra entries because they are intercompanies. Hakuna payment, hakuna risk involved. So that happens in intercompanies as far as trade credit is concerned. Lakini uwezi ona ati mkopo ya Unga Limited ikilipwa na Unga Farm Care, bank haitakubali because contract is between Unga Limited and it is not between Unga Farm Care. So that is maybe can bring that subject home easily. Ndio.
Okay, thanks.
Asanteni, nashukuru kwa your involvement. I hope none of us is cooking or doing other biashara wakati tuko class. Hiyo ndio danger ya online classes. So wacha we look at a number of issues as we are learning. We are also saying that not just learning for exam, but learning even to deliver, to be better credit officers in the market. So how can I ensure my customers are complying with the terms of trade? Ni mbinu gani nitatumia kuhakikisha zile tumesema 30 days net, 60 days net, 90 days net, load overload, nitahakikisha aje kwamba hizi terms customers are adhering to them? Because tunaona we trade credit, it's challenging because it is not as formal as it is now with the financial institution. So what can I do? What do I need to do? You need to print the terms and conditions of supply on the reverse side of an application form. So customers must apply for credit. The terms and conditions must be detailed in that application form. 2, terms must be indicated on all order forms, on all invoices and statements. So when you're sending a customer a statement, you make sure that you have said that this invoice is payable net 30, payable net 60. Yani umemuinsistia pale chini kabisa ndio ajue, right, the terms. So you keep on making sure, because trade credit has a lot of documentation on monthly basis, on daily basis. Make sure on every document that is going to the customer has the terms and conditions which are allowed. So when dealing with new customers as a credit manager, we also say make sure that you do a welcoming letter detailing the terms and conditions. So hii unamtayarisha, unamwambia, by the way, your terms are load or overload, your terms are net 60. So hata akika hata shinda kusema mimi sikujua tunafaa kulipa lini, because already documentation is there. The other thing that must be done, you must dispatch statements on a regular basis in addition to invoices. So ukituma invoice, end month unatuma statement. Some customers will always tell you, we are not paying because we have not received the statement. We are not paying because we have not received our invoices. So as a trade credit officer or as a trade credit manager, you must make sure that you have told this customer more than 5 times when they are supposed to pay you. Keep on reminding them. Like for banks, when I have a loan with the bank, they will never send me a statement unless I want to ask for that statement. But for trade credit, statements are to be dispatched every month, if not bi-monthly. you make sure customers are well informed about their balances. Otherwise, they will lapse and you will have a problem when it comes to getting payment, right? So we can ensure that customers are made aware of their payment terms by printing terms and conditions on the application form, on the credit form, on the invoices, sending statements on monthly basis, sending invoices on time, and sending a welcome letter detailing the details. I know Eric and and Rose will tell me with the bank, when I take a loan, they will give me, there's a letter you normally give, a letter of offer. The letter of offer has how much I'll be making as repayments, for how long, for how many months, which date am I supposed to make repayments, of that amount, what will be interest, what will be that letter you send, the offer letter. So also now here we are also saying that even in trade credit, you ought to give a welcoming letter, which will contain payment terms and conditions that a customer has been extended to. So I am thinking we need to move on to the next part. I hope all of us are there. I've not lost anyone. I'm happy. Let us now talk about payment methods. Nitalipwa aje in trade credit, for banks, for the other kind of credit we talked about, consumer, kunanga hiyo issue nitalipwa aje. Hapana. Sasa hapa lazima useme ni kulipe aje. And I think we see this in supermarkets. When you walk into a supermarket, or when you go to a company or even a hospital, they will put their payment methods. They'll tell you pay by card, pay by M-Pesa, pay by cash, pay by all this. So in trade credit, you must go an extra mile and tell the customers how you expect to be paid. So this is the preferred, what you're talking about, a preferred mode, nilipwe aje. So lazima upe customer various options. So you make it easier for customers to pay you. Actually, that is what we usually say. Make it easier for customers to pay you by providing different modes of payment. So so this is the means that a customer will use to pay you. So which methods are these that we use? I think number one is what we call direct debiting. Direct debiting, meaning that payments, the method, this one we see it commonly, inatumika sana individuals who are employed or salaried. Once the salary is received in the bank, the account. And remember, when I'm talking about payment, nimezi combine zote. So utapata za consumer ziko hapo ndani, za kulipia consumer, za kulipa export, because payment methods hazina utofauti. So kuna ile ya direct debiting. This one sana tunaionanga sana iko under consumer, whereby a salary or monies hit the bank and a payment is received. So which one? They have an advantage, of course. Payment is paid on the accurate date. Customers are relieved of making the payment. So it's easy. When debit account yangu tu, hata watu wengine wanaambia wanajaza tu form, lipa KPLC, unalipwa tu, pesa ikiingia tu, bili kisha kuja wanalipa. The other one is a standing order. This is also common with the bank, with consumer credit. Standing orders also. You can give a standing order on your account of some customers for the amount that is to be paid. So there is usually a specified date that is to be paid. A creditor is also specified, and how much is the amount is defined. So hapa kunakuwa ni kama umesema, I'll be consuming 1 million. So every month on this date, 1 million, we give a standing order, 1 million will be obtained from our account. So that is a standing order. The other one is a credit or a charge card. I think in our last topic, we talked about credit cards. This is also another payment method. You will visit various companies, utapata hizo cards accepted. Utapata hiyo link, kibao imeandikwa with a photo, imeandikwa vizuri, these cards are accepted here. That is also another way you swipe the card or you use the debit card. So either a credit card or a debit card. That is another method of payment. Hiyo ingine tunajua sana ni mobile money. Mobile, kila mtu kona till number. uko na pay bill, uko na nini, so that's also a payment. And maybe for you, for more work, you can be asked, what are the advantages of mobile money payment? What are the disadvantages? What are the risks of mobile money payment? So you can now be able to think about. The other one is checks and cash, where we are seeing that checks and cash is used to make payments. Tungine tutapata ni bank transfer. Those ones are common. We now have what we call what? RTGS, real-time gross settlement. We have EFT. Hizo zote ni their form of transfers that are normally used. So it can be a bank transfer that can be used. The other one is what we call what? Bills of exchange. These ones ni za kitambo, lakini watu tunaziongelelea tu, but rarely will you see a question coming from this. This one, it is usually an order which is written. Somebody writes on a piece of paper and it gives that person, telling them, take it to another person, mwambie ni siku fulani ya kulipa hizi pesa. So we normally say this as an unconditional order in writing, which is addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed or determined future date a certain sum of money to the bearer. So nitakuandikia ndani sign na nimeandikia mtu fulani na wewe ndio uko nayo, nikimwambia date fulani huyu mtu mlipe hizi pesa zake. So that one we call it was very common, a common method of payment a long time, lakini sasa haziko common. Then we have what we call a banker's check. What is a banker's check? A banker's check, this is a check, of course, drawn by the bank on behalf of a customer. So you also need to know what are contained in a banker's check or even in a normal check. What is the difference between a banker's check and a personal check? These are personal checks. So this one, tunasema, a check is drawn by the bank on behalf of the customer, that is a banker's. The other one is the one you issue on an individual issues from their account. Then the other one we will talk about is what we call a promissory note, which it's a note also in terms of requiring somebody to pay given money on demand. Again, it's a promise written on document which is signed stating a specified sum of money that should be paid to a bearer at specified date or on demand. So long time ago these one were common. A promissory note where it is written nicely, imeandikwa vizuri, unasema kama unapeleka hata bank, unasema siku fulani huyu mtu mwenye ni bearer huyu unataka mumulipe pesa zake, you draw from my account. So those are promise. You can read more, but mainly rarely will you come across them. You rarely come across them. Now, finally, I think under payment method, you will allow me not to talk about letters of credit. Why should I not talk about letter of credit? I would want to cover letters of credit when we are doing the export trade. Export. This is another form of payment. Okay, it might be used in trade, but it is commonly used in export. I would want to maybe talk about it when we talk about trade credit. I cover it. When we go there, we will just mention about it. Any question or any comment before? Some has left. Good. Tuko sawa. A letter of credit. Any question? Any comment? Am I too fast for us, Judy? Tunashika.
Yeah, uko sawa.
Good. Yes, Moshiri?
You're okay.
Asanti. Aya. Then allow me to continue. Hizo mtajisomea tu. Yani si... I just wanted so that you understand when you see somebody talking a payment method, when they talk about payment terms, what is the difference between a payment term and a payment method? Method is the mode of making payment. A payment term is the term that you have been given in terms as far as payments are concerned, when you will make the payment. But method is the means, the mode which you are expected to make a payment. So we can talk about a letter of credit, and then we can call it a day. Then we will come talk about documents and reports, records and reports, and a trade credit when we come the next lesson. So give me a few minutes, we talk about a letter of credit. So we've said letter of credit. I think I should engage Rose. Rose, have you come across a letter of credit? I think that should be Eric and Rose. Rose, have you come across a letter of credit?
Yes, I have.
What is it?
So it's basically just a guarantee to pay at a particular time. Yeah, so it's like when someone has supplied goods, so it's
Yes.
normally based on goods.
Yes.
So the bank promises that if Rose does not pay, then the bank will pay. Yes, so it's a guarantee of payment
It's a guarantee of
for any
payment.
goods. So it can be paid immediately or it can be paid after a number of days depending on the terms.
All right. Aya, Eric, we umekutana na LC. Nauliza watu wale tuko kwa bank. Umekutana na LC?
Yes.
What can you say about an LC?
I think just as Rose has mentioned,
Yes.
basically it's a guarantee that is given by a bank that payment will be made
Yes.
in case in case of default. Yeah, by the person whom has been supplied goods.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that is in order. Maybe I'll just add. So an LC is usually an undertaking by a bank. Just the same way you are saying it's a guarantee. So it's usually an undertaking by a bank to the seller. And it is normally issued on behalf of an applicant who is the buyer. So a buyer obtains an LC from their bank. So the bank issues a letter of credit, an LC, and then that letter of credit will have some conditions which the seller must meet for the monies to be released. So maybe they'll say this and this document must be shown. Goods have been delivered, they were good in good order, so there is a delivery note, goods were received. There is maybe a clearance, the goods were of good quality, zimekuwa mzuri. So those documents are attached, and then now the LC is now made good, inalipa seller juu ya hiyo mzigo alikuwa amechukua. So we also look at it as, we call it documentary credit as well, because it involves around documents. So many documents are involved. So there is a delivery note, there is acceptance note, there are number of documents ambazo zitaattachiwa pale, ambazo itakuwa imelist, ambazo lazima ziprovidiwe. So that is a letter of credit. It is commonly used in export, though it is also used locally, that is between traders, especially when transactions are very huge. Unaogopa usiletewe mali haiko sawa, ukwe mali haitakuwa sawa, ama the amount, the exposure is too high, so you need somebody else whom you can trust. This customer hamuna relationship sana, umwelewi sana, so unamwambia mi nitaka you open an LC. Then you come up with terms and conditions ambazo zitakuwa kwa LC, ambazo you as the seller you are going to meet, and then this other person is also going to meet. So that is what an LC is. So it's basically a letter, but this letter is from a credible institution like the bank, as they have just told us. So we have different types of LCs, and these different types of LCs, the names are, utapata tu ni vitu unaweza kuelewa. There is what we call revocable letter of credit. This means it can be amended or cancelled without notice to the exporter. So inaweza kuwa cancelled, inaweza kuwa amended or some changes. Kuna ingine tunaita irrevocable letter of credit. So the importer's bank undertakes to honor document provided the terms and conditions are complied with. Sasa hii hakuna kuretract, hakuna kurudi nyuma. Kama ni kulipiwa italipiwa vile ilivyo, lakini revocable tunaweza fanya mabadiliko. Then kuna hiyo ingine tunaita unconfirmed LC, letter of credit. Unconfirmed, we call it unconfirmed letter of credit. What does it mean? It means the advising bank, that is Exporters Bank, has no responsibility but negotiate documents with recourse to the seller. So itabidi waende kwa huyo seller, confirm if there are any changes that are to be made. So unconfirmed. Then we have the confirmed. The Exporters Bank gives a confirmation. Remember, we said we will find more. Or let me use the exporter or the seller bank gives a confirmation that it will honor documents on condition they are complied with the letter of credit. Then we have transferable letter of credit. So when you're talking about transferable letter of credit, this is, it can be given to another party. Ilikuwa ni yangu mimi, lakini naeza amua juu niko na deni ya mtu mwingine ni mtransferie. It means that. Then what else do we have? We have a transferable, divisible LC. It can be divided, can be shared. Unaweza kuwa unanilipia mimi, unalipa Judy, unalipa Eric, unalipa Pasi, a number of people, divisible. Then there is another one we call revolving letter of credit. A revolving, unaweza pata iko nitakuwa nanunua kila mwezi ama kwa muda fulani. So the value of the credit on the LC can be revolved over a given period of time which is specified on the letter. So every time niko na hii LC imeandikwa ni ya mwaka mzima, lakini nina deliver in bits. So inakuwa revolving. Hiyo nimepeleka ninalipwa. Hiyo letter bado inasimamia the new transaction. So we call that a revolving letter of credit. As the names are, isiwashtue vile tu majina iko, revocable, irrevocable, confirmed, unconfirmed, transferable, divisible, revolving. So hiyo isiwashtue. So but all you need to know is what is an LC. You define an LC. Then an examiner will ask you, can you name or can you discuss or can you describe different types of letters of credit, an LC? Simple as that. Then contents of an LC, of course, we have a number of contents that are there. What type of a letter is it? Revolving, divisible, and confirmed. The name and the address of the buyer, name and address of the beneficiary, that is the seller. Terms of the contract, tumesema hiyo yote. Documents required to support the LC, description of the goods, shipping details, expiry date, amount of credit in whatever foreign currency or local currency. So ita detail hizo mambo zote pale. So you can look for samples of LC in Google and you can be able to see them. Then uelewe zaidi. But most important, know the type of what is an LC. 2 types of LCs that do exist in the market. When you know that, hiyo topic, examiner akiuliza hiyo swali, tumebomoa na tumeweza kuendelea. I think it is only fair that I don't go beyond there and leave it at that, so that next time when we come, we will just talk about documents and records and reports under trade credit. So tukishajua hizo, then we'll be able now to move. I think either we can move to the next lesson, but that should be it under trade credit. That is next time. So maybe ni kipindi cha lala salama. What are you taking home after this lesson? Do I expect to see you next time? So kindly we can have that discussion.